In my past life, my elder sister forced me to marry the lowest-born stable hand in the household. Yet that stable hand later rose to prominence through saving the emperor, and I became the most envied noble lady in the capital. My elder sister burned with jealousy. In this new life, she defied all opposition and stubbornly carried on an affair with the stable hand. But then she discovered that the one who rose to prominence for saving the emperor was me. The moment I opened my eyes, I faced both good news and bad. The good news, I had been reborn. The bad news was, it seemed I was about to die again. A gleaming steel blade pressed against my throat as a towering man revealed a cold smile. My apologies. Though we have no quarrel. The young mistress commands your death by the third watch. I cannot let you live until the fifth. Memories from my past life surged back, and I recognized the man before me. He was Wei Lu, the stable hand in my family, and also my husband in my previous life. I had returned to the very night he, acting on my elder sister's orders, intended to kill me. The blade's tip pierced my skin, blood gushing forth. Just as I was about to speak, the door burst open from the outside. My elder sister stumbled in, breathless. Seeing I was still alive, she exhaled a long breath of relief and rushed to embrace Wei Lu's waist tightly. Thank heavens! Lu, we're still in time. Startled, Wei Lu froze as my elder sister passionately pressed her lips to his. Lu, don't marry her. I'm willing to be with you. I instantly realized, my elder sister, Du Pingting, had been reborn. Our family had been imperial merchants for generations. Du Pingting, the only daughter of my father and his primary wife, possessed innate beauty and had been cherished like a precious jewel since childhood. In contrast, I was a concubine-born daughter whose birth mother died young. Not only was I plain-looking, but I also loved practicing martial arts from a young age, fighting street urchins one day, learning swordsmanship from wandering martial artists the next. My father despised me for lacking the grace expected of a young lady, always showing me extreme disdain. Du Pingting, for her part, never gave this unloved concubine's daughter a second thought. Yet, by some twist of fate, I saved the young master of Lord Lu's household on the street. That young Master Lu was dashing and handsome, the very man Du Pingting had long admired. Seeing how the young master couldn't stop thinking about me after I saved his life, even going so far as to send matchmakers to propose marriage, Du Pingting couldn't sit still. She wanted someone to kill me, but knew no one would readily take on such a task. So she summoned Wei Lu. Wei Lu was Du Pingting's #1 sycophant, having repeatedly declared to her, "This worthless life of mine belongs to you, young miss." So Du Pingting first softened Wei Lu with tears, putting on a pitiful act, insisting that only he could help her now. Then she handed him 10 taels of silver, instructing him to kill me and flee afterward. This way, you help me and gain your freedom. Du Pingting's scheme seemed flawless, but she never imagined that Wei Lu, who had always obeyed her, would become possessed that night. Not only did he fail to kill me, he married me instead. He then used the secret of her past order to kill someone as leverage, forcing Du Pingting to return her indenture contract. Originally, even though Du Pingting felt resentful at this turn of events, she could still accept it. After all, she had married young Master Lu as she desired, while I could only become the wife of Wei Lu, whom she had always looked down upon. Yet fate proved capricious. 3 months after Du Pingting entered the Lu household, Magistrate Lu was exposed for embezzlement. The once illustrious Lu residence was confiscated, reduced to utter ruin. Young Master Lu squandered the last of the family's money on drinking, gambling, and women, bringing home a disease he'd contracted in illicit dens. Meanwhile, Wei Lu, as luck would have it for such a scoundrel, stumbled upon one stroke of good fortune after another. After regaining his freedom, he happened to be chosen as one of the local guides for the emperor's autumn hunt. which required locals to lead the way through the mountains. During that hunt, assassins emerged. As the emperor was about to be struck by an assassin's blade, Wei Lu charged forward without hesitation, shielding the emperor from the blow. After surviving this peril, Wei Lu was rewarded for his service as the emperor's protector and selected to become a guard of the palace guard command. Later, Prince Ning plotted rebellion, leading troops to besiege the Haoqing palace. On the day of the palace coup, Wei Lu remained unflappable in the crisis, employing feints and diversionary tactics. He held off Prince Ning's forces with just 300 guards for an entire night until reinforcements arrived. Afterward, His Majesty rewarded merit, and Wei Lu was exceptionally enfeoffed as the Marquis of Loyal Courage. The stable hand once scorned by Du Pingting thus soared to the heavens. And I, by association, became the esteemed lady of the Marquis's manor. Wei Lu treated me with utmost kindness. He took no concubines, kept no beautiful maidservants, and treated me with equal respect day after day. All the noble ladies in the capital envied me intensely. Du Pingting was consumed by jealousy. When I returned to the manor for ancestral rites, she cornered me in the ancestral hall. Her bloodshot eyes burned with bitter regret and resentment. Wei Lu clearly loved me. Had I not sent him to kill you that night, he would have come to marry me once he rose to power. Du Yunshu, you stole everything that was rightfully mine. I won't let you off easy. She laughed maniacally and set the ancestral hall ablaze. And so, we perished together in the flames. Now, we've been reborn together. At this moment, Du Pingting passionately kissed Wei Lu's lips, while I struggled to rise, clutching my wounds, desperate to flee. Wei Lu noticed me with a sudden alertness. He pinned me down with his foot, raising the knife in his hand. But Du Pingting grabbed his arm. Don't. My heart pounded like a drum, my whole body trembling with tension. Yet clarity slowly filled my mind. Du Pingting wouldn't kill me. The body would be discovered. The constables weren't idle. Wei Lu would be investigated sooner or later. In her original plan, Wei Lu was merely a sacrificial pawn. But now, she clearly intended to become Wei Lu's wife after her rebirth. Therefore, she absolutely couldn't let Wei Lu bear the weight of murder tonight. Wei Lu remained unaware of this. He pleaded urgently. Pingting, why are you stopping me? If we don't kill her, she'll become the stumbling block to your marriage into the Lu family. Du Pingting's brow relaxed. She recognized the depth of his affection for her. Taking his hand, tears welled in her eyes. Lu, I've come to understand. You'd do anything for me. How could I sacrifice you for wealth and honor? She said emotionally. I won't marry the Lu family. From now on, whether in poverty or prosperity, I'll only stand by you. Wei Lu was moved, but your parents won't agree. I have my own way of handling that. Du Pingting replied softly. Then she turned her gaze to me. I lay on the ground, painfully pinned under Wei Lu's foot on my shoulder. Truthfully, I possessed martial arts skills myself and shouldn't have been so utterly defenseless. But Wei Lu had used dopey smoke beforehand, leaving my limbs limp and escape impossible. I was at their mercy. Even if Du Pingting didn't kill me, she wouldn't spare me. How could I reassure her? My mind raced. And suddenly, an idea struck me. I immediately raised my chin and declared loudly. Eldest sister. You're just afraid I'll compete with you for young Master Lu, aren't you? Let me tell you this, either kill me now, or the one marrying him will definitely be me. Du Pingting nearly burst out laughing at this. That young Master Lu was indeed handsome, the dream lover of countless young ladies. But after Du Pingting actually married him in her past life, she discovered that beyond his prestigious family background and good looks, he was utterly worthless in every other way. After the Lu family's downfall, the young master squandered their last pennies on brothels and drunken revelry. returning home to beat Du Dingting whenever he was drunk. Now, Du Pingting didn't know I had been reborn. Only by wholeheartedly pretending to want to marry young Master Lu could she truly relax. Sure enough, Du Pingting ordered Wei Lu to release me. Lu, let her go. Wei Lu remained uneasy, but what if she tells others about tonight? Rest assured, she won't dare, Du Pingting said, smiling at me. If you tell anyone Wei Lu dragged you out tonight, even if you return alive, the Lu family will surely speculate whether your virtue has been compromised. Then, the young Master Lu you've been pining for won't want you anymore. I bit my lip, my expression one of humiliation and helplessness. So, this is the deal, you must never reveal what happened between Wei Lu and me. And in return, I won't stand in the way of your marriage into the Lu family. How does that sound? Du Pingting asked. I remained silent for a long while before finally nodding. Du Pingting laughed. She turned back and continued kissing Wei Lu passionately. I stumbled out the door. The moonlight was beautiful. We both got what we wanted. After returning to the mansion, I kept my promise to Du Pingting and said nothing. Meanwhile, Du Pingting began executing her plan. First, she had her father purchase large quantities of coal and stockpile it in the shop. Father was puzzled, after all. We were in the south, where the climate was warm year-round and winter didn't require so much charcoal, but Du Pingting insisted. Father, ever indulgent toward her, complied. Within days, the weather turned bizarre, dumping snow rarely seen in decades. The city froze suddenly, charcoal became scarce, prices skyrocketed, and father made a fortune from the coal he'd stockpiled later. When the First Lady proposed renovating several rooms in the West Wing, Du Pingting immediately objected. Mother, renovating them would be useless, a waste of silver. Sure enough, a willow tree in the west courtyard toppled, collapsing several rooms. Amidst their astonishment, father and the First Lady began to recognize Du Pingting's uncanny foresight. With the stage set, Du Pingting finally revealed her true colors. Father, mother, I must confess, at midnight, I often dream of immortals who foretell the future. My father beamed. What did these immortals tell you? Du Pingting whispered. For instance, Lord Lu will be investigated and exiled for embezzlement, his entire household will be confiscated, and young Master Lu will contract a disease from a prostitute while indulging in debauchery. The First Lady paled at these words. Could the Lu family truly meet such a fate? No, we absolutely cannot let Pingting marry into that family. My father, however, considered more than the First Lady and found himself torn. But Lord Lu has already requested a daughter from our Du family as his bride, and I have already agreed. To refuse now would surely offend him. Regardless of whether the Lu household falls into ruin later, he still holds the lifeline of our Du family in his hands. If we anger Lord Lu and he removes me from the Imperial Merchant Registry, our Du family will face disaster this very year. Du Pingting smiled. Father, there's no need to fret, the Du family has more than one daughter. Didn't Yunshu recently rescue young Master Lu from those ruffians? Hearing this, the First Lady's heart immediately eased. Master, it seems marrying Yunshu off would be the best solution. Father never favored me. After lowering his head in thought for a moment, he said, Indeed. But Yunshu is the younger sister. In prominent families, the eldest daughter always marries first. We must arrange another marriage for Pingting. Du Pingting quickly interjected. Father, the immortal has already designated a noble husband for me. Who is it? Du Pingting clapped her hands 3 times. And Wei Lu entered. Father's face instantly turned ashen. The First Lady nearly fainted. Wei Lu? A stable hand? Du Pingting firmly took Wei Lu's hand. We are deeply in love. Moreover, Wei Lu possesses extraordinary signs. He is destined for great success. Father, mother, I have already consummated our relationship. I will marry no one but him. If you refuse, I will prove my resolve by taking my own life. It must be said, Du Pingting was playing a dangerous game. This maneuver not only forced her father and the First Lady to reluctantly consent to this absurd marriage, but also moved Wei Lu to utter despair. And so, within the Du residence, Du Pingting and Wei Lu became inseparable. She visited me repeatedly, urging me, Sister, You should also strive diligently to prepare for your marriage into the Liu family. Each time she said this, a venomous smile curled at the corners of her mouth. Outwardly, I appeared eager to comply, but behind closed doors, I quietly pursued my own agenda. First, I trained in martial arts. My mother, in her youth, was actually the daughter of a military commander. Later, her family fell into disgrace, her father and brothers were executed, and she was reduced to slave status, sold into our household. In her lifetime, within this small courtyard, she taught me martial arts and military strategy. She would stroke my head and say, "Yunshu learns so quickly." After saying this, she would secretly shed tears. After all, even she knew that for us women trapped in the inner quarters, these were merely skills for slaying dragons. Mother could never have known how much these things would later aid me. In my past life, it was not Wei Lu who commanded troops and achieved victory against overwhelming odds during the palace coup, it was me. On the night Wei Lu's steel blade was about to pierce my throat, I begged for my life. I told him I could marry him. After all, my elder sister sought my death only to prevent me from obstructing her marriage into the Liu family. If I became Wei Lu's woman, I could serve the same purpose. I bear a 6/10 resemblance to my elder sister. You can treat me as her. Wei Lu finally relented. He spared my life. I traded humiliation for survival. This was what mother taught me: lie in wait. Endure humiliation, and revenge can wait a decade. Afterward, I exploited Wei Lu bit by bit. During the Emperor's autumn hunt, Wei Lu served as guide while I attended to him, both of us present at the scene. As the assassin's blade neared the Emperor's heart, I shoved Wei Lu forward from the shadows. My reasoning was simple. If he survived, he'd surely receive rewards, and I'd share in the glory. If he died, I'd gain promotion, wealth, and a dead husband, nothing lost. By sheer luck, Wei Lu survived though gravely wounded. Not only did he live, but his muscular build earned him a spot in the Imperial Guard, making him a favored figure close to His Majesty. Yet he lacked intelligence, forcing him to rely on me for everything. Thus, all the skills my mother taught me found their purpose. I possessed the perfect puppet. Later, I even poisoned Wei Lu, making him utterly dependent on my commands. But now I've been reborn, and everything has a better solution. In my past life, Wei Lu gained everything because of his merit in saving the Emperor. Now, I know exactly when the Emperor will be attacked, where the assassins will emerge, and the exact angle of their blades. So why can't I be the one credited with saving the Emperor? Besides secretly practicing martial arts, I've actually done other things. Rebirth is a tremendous advantage. Beyond making this life better for myself, I also wish to help others within my power. For instance, before the sudden snowfall brought bitter cold to the city, I bought some coal at a low price. After the snow fell, I quietly distributed it to impoverished families who couldn't afford the high-priced charcoal. Some of those homes had newborn infants, others housed elderly with mobility issues. Because of my rebirth, they endured a warm winter. Another example, before the great willow tree crushed the Western Wing's dwelling, I summoned the young maidservants residing there to my quarters beforehand. They were all servants' children, their own parents long dead, with no one to care for them. They lived in that drafty, dilapidated shack. In my past life, on the very night the willow tree fell, the old house collapsed, ending their brief, wretched lives. The next day, the girls saw their home crushed beneath the debris, their hearts still trembling with fear. If Sister Yunshu hadn't called us to her room for candy, we would have died for sure. Yet this inevitably left me with a hidden worry. That day, after Du Pingting finished her intimate moment with Wei Lu, she cheerfully stepped out of the courtyard. Suddenly, She noticed these girls, who should have perished in her past life, were all still alive. Only then did she belatedly sense something was amiss. She summoned them over and demanded to know where they had been the night the willow tree fell. Upon learning I had called them away, Du Pingting's expression darkened. That night, when I returned to my room, I found it ransacked. Du Pingting stood inside with her servants, seemingly waiting specifically for my return. Spotting me, she approached and gripped my chin. My dear Yunshu sister, how long did you plan to hide such a blessing, rebirth, from me? I stared at her. Rebirth? What rebirth? Du Pingting snapped. Don't play dumb. She raised the protective gear in her hand, the very item she just seized from my room. This leather armor you painstakingly stitched, meant for Wei Lu, right? So it was just a smokescreen all along, pretending to marry into the Lu family while secretly trying to steal Wei Lu from me. Admit it. She grabbed a pair of scissors and tore the armor I had sewn to shreds. Let me tell you this, trying to curry favor with Wei Lu is useless. In my past life, you stole everything from me. This lifetime, I won't let you off easy. Just wait, I'm going to report this to father and mother right now. I'll make sure you marry into the Lu family immediately. She leaned close, her voice low and mocking. Of course, as a concubine's daughter, becoming young Master Lu's legitimate wife would be too ambitious for you. Being a concubine suits your station perfectly. When the Lu family falls into ruin, you'll be sold off. I stared at Du Pingting, feigning shock and hatred, but inside, I nearly burst out laughing. I thought she'd come up with something more elaborate to deal with me. Turns out her mind was still fixated on that petty scheme of stealing men. That leather armor wasn't sewn for Wei Lu at all, it was meant to be sold for profit. After all, I needed substantial silver to prepare for the rescue mission later. Just as Du Pingting was about to say more, a servant hurriedly arrived with news. Miss Du, Master Wei requests the chicken soup. You personally prepared. Du Pingting immediately replied, coming right away. She turned to me with a smile. See, young Master Wei only drinks chicken soup I make. How could you possibly compete with me? With that, she left in high spirits, taking her servants with her to wash her hands and prepare soup for her dear husband. I shrugged. A poor mind truly is a terminal illness, one that even rebirth couldn't cure. After tidying the room, I stepped out the courtyard gate. No sooner had I reached a quiet spot than someone grabbed my arm. Startled, I whipped around to find it was Wei Lu. Lately, Wei Lu had been eating and drinking well, putting on weight. When he smiled, his face creased with fleshy folds. His very sight annoyed me. What brings you here, brother-in-law? I asked coldly. Wei Lu chuckled. I deliberately distracted your sister. Shouldn't you thank me? Honestly, his usual coldness toward me was more reassuring. Now that he was being uncharacteristically attentive, my guard immediately went up. What do you mean? Wei Lu stepped closer, reaching out to rest his hand on my shoulder. Yunshu, you know what? I had a dream. In it, you begged me desperately, saying you loved me, that you wouldn't mind even becoming Du Pingting's stand-in. My head buzzed. Those were the words I'd used to save my life in my past life. My greatest shame. But that wasn't the point. The point was, Wei Lu had actually dreamed about events from a previous life. Remember, Du Pingting didn't know the details of the rescue, but Wei Lu did. If he remembered everything and came after me, my situation would become extremely complicated. So I suppressed my disgust and feigned sorrow, saying, "Is that all you dreamt about?" Wei Lu asked. "What? Do you know more?" I hesitated. I have the same dream. In the later part, I even became your wife, and we moved together to Cross Alley in the south of the city. Wei Lu frowned, his expression slightly bewildered. He murmured, "Cross Alley? That dilapidated alley full of peddlers and laborers?" Then, relief washed over Wei Lu's face. I knew what he was relieved about, that in this life, he'd been loved by Miss Du and wouldn't have to suffer in a place like Crossroads Alley. But Wei Lu didn't know that I, too, felt relieved. Wei Lu's dream seemed to be unfolding bit by bit. He'd only reached the night he planned to kill me. As long as his memories surfaced late enough, the initiative would remain mine. In fact, I could even use Wei Lu first. After 2 lifetimes, I'd seen through him completely. He was utterly rotten to the core. The hallmark of a rotten person is that what they never possess always seems best. In the past life, he was a lowly stable hand, while Du Pingting was the moon in the sky, the vermilion birthmark on his heart. This life, however, Du Pingting suddenly became a clingy, fawning dog, obeying his every command. At first, he felt flattered and overwhelmed, but soon, he stopped taking her seriously. Instead, my aloofness began to pique his interest. Realizing this, I deliberately said to Wei Lu with detached indifference, "The past is behind us. This lifetime, I'm marrying young Master Lu. Our paths were never meant to cross." A flicker of sorrow crossed my eyes as I spoke. Then I turned and walked away. Wei Lu grabbed my arm. "Yunshu, I hold an official position now. For a man of rank, having multiple wives and concubines is perfectly normal." Though I already knew Wei Lu was despicable, his utter depravity still stunned me anew. Wei Lu had indeed secured an official position. This was because Du Pingting's marriage to a stable hand was simply too absurd. So she spent a fortune and enlisted her father's connections to pull strings everywhere, ultimately buying Wei Lu an official post. Du Pingting's reasoning was twofold. First, to maintain a semblance of dignity in their current life. Second, to position Wei Lu to later earn great merit by saving the emperor. But the truth was, when someone received too many favors from you, they might feel grateful at first, but eventually, they'd only see themselves as extraordinary. Just like Wei Lu now, he'd gotten carried away. No sooner had he become an official thanks to Du Pingting than he began coveting the lives of his colleagues, with their 3 wives and 4 concubines. And I'd actually thought he had feelings for Du Pingting. My thoughts raced. With a sorrowful smile, I lowered my eyes and said, "Even if I were willing, how could my sister possibly accept me?" After speaking, I wiped away non-existent tears. No matter how Wei Lu called after me, I turned and hurried away. Soon, the day arrived when my parents arranged my betrothal. In the main hall, Father and the First Lady sat on either side of the table, with Du Pingting by their side. The scene resembled 2 judges and a scheming advisor, while I was the prisoner awaiting exile. Father spoke first. "Yunshu, you are no longer young. Young Master Lu has shown interest in you, repaying the debt of saving his life. The Lu family is a distinguished and prominent clan. Marrying into it would be an honor for you." The First Lady, who had never liked me, chimed in immediately, "But your mother was a traitor. Your status is lowly. You certainly aren't fit to be the Lu family's main wife. If you can become a concubine, you should be grateful to tears." I replied calmly, "Wouldn't it be a blow to your dignity to have a Du family daughter as a concubine?" Seeing my defiance, the First Lady's expression turned cold. Casting decorum aside, she declared bluntly, "You're not my biological daughter. Our Du family has never acknowledged you as such. Even if word got out that you were merely a servant girl freely given to young Master Lu, what could you possibly do about it? So you're determined to make me a concubine, madam? Why not?" Just then, the door burst open. Wei Lu strode in, dressed in official attire. "If that's the case, why not let Miss Yunshu become my concubine?" Madame Du was stunned. My father was stunned. Du Pingting staggered violently, nearly fainting. She pointed at Wei Lu. Speechless for a long moment, Wei Lu declared loudly, "My lady. Consider this, as a 7th-rank sword-bearing guard. Most of my colleagues have 3 or 4 wives and numerous children. Yet my own quarters lack even a bed warmer maid, a truly pitiful state. When colleagues inquire, they often mock me and speculate that you are fiercely jealous. Does this not bring shame upon me while also tarnishing your reputation? Since taking a concubine is inevitable, wouldn't it be better for the 2 sisters to unite their efforts than to bring in a stranger from outside?" Du Pingting's face turned pale, and she could barely catch her breath. Watching from the sidelines, I could only sneer inwardly. Whom to blame? Only her own foolishness. In my previous life, though I had also elevated Wei Lu to power, I had fed him a slow-acting poison early on. The antidote to that poison was in my hands alone. So Wei Lu feared me and had no choice but to act as my puppet. When collaborating with others, the key lies in balancing favor and authority, always retaining leverage to counterbalance the other party. Yet Du Pingting was too foolish. She held nothing back, pouring her heart into serving Wei Lu, convinced that once he rose to power, he would remember this love. She was wrong. Not all acts of kindness in times of need are rewarded. The world is never short of tales like that of Mr. Donghua and the wolf. News of Wei Lu publicly requesting to take me as his concubine spread quickly. Upon learning this, the Lu family, unwilling to be entangled in such trouble and suspecting I was already involved with Wei Lu, naturally abandoned their pursuit of marrying me. Du Pingting was furious. She had a huge fight with Wei Lu, then stormed off, ordering her maidservant slash Dianshu's face and throw her out of the mansion. Du Pingting's logic was sound, but she was a step too late. I had already packed a small bundle and slipped away in the chaos. After such a major incident, I certainly wouldn't stay at the Du residence any longer. In my previous life, Wei Lu and I had lived near Shirley Pavilion for a time. I knew Auntie Wang, who sold soup dumplings, was a kind soul. She owned several old houses, and I could rent one there. That night, after spreading out my quilt, I began to ponder what to do next. Early next month, His Majesty would embark on his hunting expedition. He would seek local guides and attendants for the mountains, and the task of selecting these locals fell to uniquely at the imperial court. Such positions were open to anyone, so uniquely simply chose whoever offered the most silver. In my past life, Wei Lu and I had bribed him with 50 taels of silver, successfully securing our places. If I were going alone, I'd need at least 30 taels. I had saved quite a bit of money originally, but when Du Pingting came searching my room with her people, they seized all the silver. This escape was so hasty that I truly had no idea where to get the money now. I could earn money by finding work outside, but that would be too slow. With only about 10 days left before the Emperor's hunt, it would be difficult to scrape together that much silver. Just as I was feeling extremely anxious, already contemplating whether to risk returning to the Du residence to steal some gold and jewels, someone knocked on the window. I looked up and saw a fresh, young face. It was Xiao Cui. Back when I saved the little girls who had been crushed by the great willow tree in my past life, Xiao Cui was the eldest among them. Sister Yun Shu, Xiao Cui called softly. I came here on my own. Please open the door. I opened it for her and asked, "How did you find this place?" Xiao Cui seemed to sense my worry and reassured me. "Don't worry. No one else knows you're here. Lu Erling, the merchant at Crossroads shop, is my uncle. He saw you here, so I came." Sister Yun Shu, I'm sorry. Did we say something wrong back then that made the eldest young miss bully you? Actually, yes. But these girls were only 7 or 8 at most. The youngest just 3 or 4. How could I possibly blame them? So I ruffled Xiao Cui's hair. No. It had nothing to do with you. Xiao Sui pulled out a packet of silver. Sister Yun Shu, you must have no money after being expelled from the mansion. This is for you. I froze. Where did this money come from? Xiao Sui explained. Zhaodi earned some from washing clothes earlier, and Yulian contributed her saved tips. I stared at Xiao Sui. I knew this couldn't possibly add up to such a large sum. Seeing she couldn't hide it from me, Xiao Cui bit her lip. I pawned the jade pendant my mother left me. That jade pendant was a keepsake from Xiao Cui's mother. I immediately tried to push the silver back at her, But she jerked backward. Sister Yunshu. You know. We all believe you're destined for great things. Don't let us down. With that, Xiao Chui leaped out the door and vanished in a flash. I stood there, clutching the money these girls had pooled together for me. My heart filled with mixed emotions. They were honest, intelligent, and grateful. Far more deserving of my support and help than a man like Wei Lu. I tightened my grip on the silver. I knew that rather than refuse it again, I should take it and use it for something greater. Before I knew it, the day of the Emperor's autumn hunt arrived. The western hills had been cordoned off by the Imperial Forest Guards. Local guides were all checked by the guards for their credentials before being allowed entry. Dressed as a man, I presented the credentials I'd obtained from Eunuch Li. After the guards verified them, they let me in. Our task as guides was straightforward: lead the Emperor and his hunting party while herding deer, rabbits, and other game toward the main hunting paths for the noble's convenience. Armed with memories from my past life, I immediately headed southeast toward a 1,000-year-old tree. In my previous life, Wei Lu had intended to go to the western side of the mountain, but I judged the southeast to hold more game and offer a better chance of reward. So I brought him here. As it turned out, this was a stroke of luck. The assassin appeared about 2 li away. The Emperor's horse, startled, bolted wildly all the way here, colliding with the tree and throwing His Majesty off. The assassin arrived shortly after, lunging at the Emperor with a sword. In that critical moment, I shoved Wei Lu forward, using him as a shield against the assassin's blade. His Majesty, skilled in martial arts himself, seized the moment Wei Lu bought him and swiftly drew his sword, killing the assassin. This time, I wouldn't let Wei Lu seize the chance to claim credit. Yet, as I plotted my next move, a familiar, exasperating voice sounded behind me. Yunshu. I turned to see Wei Lu standing there. How could this be? Wei Lu shouldn't be here. Unaware of my panic, he approached with joy, his voice filled with emotion. Yunshu. I never imagined you'd go to such lengths just to see me. Rest assured, when we return, I will take you as my concubine. Me. I understood. Wei Lu hadn't foreseen the events of my past life. He'd merely recognized me from afar, assuming I'd gone to great lengths to reach the western mountains solely to meet him. The sun was about to sink behind the mountains. Time was of the essence. I had to distract Wei Lu immediately. So I lowered my head coyly and said, Wei Lang, your kindness truly moves me deeply. Since no one will come here anyway, why don't we? Wei Lu beamed. You're willing to give yourself to me today? Suppressing my revulsion, I forced a smile. Yes. How about this, Wei Lang? Go wait for me behind that large rock over there. Wei Lu reached for my hand. Let's go together. At that moment, faint hoofbeats echoed from the distance, mingled with indistinct voices, assassins. Only Wei Lu, consumed by lust, remained oblivious. There was no time left. I shoved him hard. Go ahead. I'll change into the peach-pink undershirt and join you. Wei Lu's face lit up with joy once more. He hurried off to the large rock nearby. The moment he left, the hoofbeats grew louder, galloping closer. Stop! Stop! It was the same scenario as in my previous life. The Emperor tried to halt the horse, but the beast, struck by the assassin's blade, had lost all reason in its agony and charged onward. I dashed forward, snapping the tripwire taut between 2 trees. The rope snapped tight, tripping the horse and flinging the Emperor from its back. I was ready. Leaping forward, I caught His Majesty, Your Majesty. But at that very moment, the assassin had already lunged forward, sword thrust directly at the Emperor. You think I blocked the sword? Not me. In my past life, Wei Lu blocked the sword and suffered internal injuries. though he survived, his lifespan was surely shortened. I had a smarter solution. Sure enough, the assassin charged at His Majesty, who hastily drew his sword to meet the attack. Meanwhile, I pulled out a round object and tossed it at the assassin's feet. The next second, the assassin let out a wail and collapsed. His Majesty looked down. A steel trap. The massive steel jaws had snapped shut around the assassin's leg, causing him to curl up in agony. The Emperor wouldn't let this chance slip. In the next instant, his sword pierced the assassin's shoulder, pinning him firmly to the ground. He turned to look at me. "What is your name?" I bowed my head, replying respectfully, "Du Yunshu." The Emperor narrowed his eyes slightly. "Clouds gather. Clouds disperse. A fine name." "Thank you, Your Majesty. My mother named me." This should have been a perfectly touching, triumphant moment. But the next instant, a bare-bottomed figure leaped out from behind a large rock in the distance. "Yunshu, I've been waiting forever. Are you done yet?" Wei Lu shouted. The Emperor's pupils trembled. Fortunately, the awkwardness didn't last long. Soon after, the Imperial Guards arrived and escorted His Majesty away. They had pressing matters to attend to, examining the Emperor's injuries and interrogating the assassin. Eunuch Li was tasked with escorting me back to the Du residence first. He assured me not to worry, saying the Emperor would bestow rewards upon me once he'd handled the other affairs in the coming days. I wasn't concerned, for in my previous life, Wei Lu had also waited several days at home before receiving the Emperor's edict of reward. Eunuch Li escorted me back to the Du residence, and Wei Lu also had to return to the Du residence. He was now in an awkward position. Wei Lu awkwardly accompanied me back to the entrance of the residence. Eunuch Li said, "The imperial edict has not yet been issued. It is best not to alert too many people to this matter. I shall not escort you inside the residence." With that, he bowed and departed. Only Wei Lu and I remained at the entrance of the residence. Wei Lu, already aware of my role in saving the Emperor, spoke awkwardly yet ingratiatingly. Before he could finish, someone burst out from the mansion. Du Pingting threw her arms around Wei Lu, her voice trembling with emotion. "Husband, you're finally back. Eunuch Li escorted you home just now. Didn't he? You've finally made it big." Du Pingting clung to Wei Lu, laughing and shouting. Wei Lu's face flushed with embarrassment. He wanted to deny it, but in this situation, he couldn't bring himself to speak. Du Pingting turned her head and saw me. "You wretch! What are you doing here? Don't tell me seeing Wei Lu's rise has made you fancy yourself as his concubine again." Wei Lu, his face flushed with embarrassment, tugged at Du Pingting. Don't speak to Yunshu like that. After all, Wei Lu knew I'd just performed a great service. He dared not provoke me. But Du Pingting misunderstood. "You're defending her?" With that shout, Wei Lu fell silent. The assassin incident couldn't be revealed yet, and he couldn't explain to Du Pingting. Frustration flushed his face crimson. Du Pingting began to weep. "Wei Lang, you know how I've treated you. If you abandon your wife of humble beginnings the moment you get promoted, what will people say about you?" Her tears drew stares from passers-by, who watched with gleeful curiosity. Seeing the crowd grow, Du Pingting cast aside her dignity as a young lady, determined to bind herself tightly to Wei Lu, who was about to rise to great heights. She nestled against his shoulder and declared loudly, "Wei Lang, I demand you say it, that I am the only one in your heart." Wei Lu swallowed hard. "In my heart, there is only you. And after your promotion, you will never betray me." Yes. Yes. I will never betray you." Wei Lu only wanted Du Pingting to calm down quickly, so he agreed readily. Besides, he wasn't actually going to get promoted. "Did you hear that?" Du Pingting turned to me triumphantly. Wei Lang and I are deeply devoted. Don't even think about coming between us. Wei Lu felt goosebumps rising all over his body. He wanted to dissuade Du Pingting but feared being misunderstood again, truly caught between a rock and a hard place. I watched this little drama unfold with a smile, almost ready to pull out some sunflower seeds to munch on. How about this, sister? I said. Since you dislike me so much, could we draw up a written agreement severing all ties? From now on, whether I live or die, it has nothing to do with the Du family anymore. This suited Du Pingting perfectly. Ignoring Wei Lu's desperate attempts to stop her, she signed the document in front of everyone. From that day on, I was simply Yunshu, no longer Du Yunshu. I was satisfied, because Yun was my mother's maiden name. Several days later, Uniquely finally arrived at the Du residence again. Du Pingting was ecstatic, pulling her parents and Wei Lu out to greet him. Uniquely, has His Majesty bestowed a reward? Uniquely nodded. Du Pingting grew even more excited, practically ecstatic. Everyone knelt together as Uniquely announced. His Majesty decrees, Wei Lu, who was on duty at West Hill that day, served with utmost loyalty and dedication. He is hereby rewarded with 20 taels of silver. Du Pingting's smile froze on her face. She murmured, "That's all?" Uniquely frowned. "Madam, His Majesty has shown mercy by bestowing 20 taels of silver upon every guard on duty at the Western Hills that day. What more do you desire?" He had heard of Wei Lu's unseemly conduct that day. His Majesty had chosen not to hold it against him. After narrowly escaping disaster, the Emperor had rewarded everyone present with silver that day and had not punished Wei Lu. What more could she possibly want? Uniquely hurried off to deliver rewards to other households. Departing impatiently, Du Pingting tried to chase after him, my husband saved. Wei Lu finally grabbed Du Pingting's arm. With matters having reached this point, he bowed his head and said, "It was Yunshu who saved His Majesty." Du Pingting's eyes widened. She stammered in disbelief. "How could that be?" Wei Lu replied, "It's true. These past few days, I've gradually begun dreaming of events from my previous life. In truth, in that past life, it was Yunshu who pushed me forward." Du Pingting collapsed to the ground. "And what came after? How did you, outnumbered, protect His Majesty during the palace coup?" Wei Lu demanded, his voice laced with embarrassment. "I haven't dreamt of that yet. But judging by the current situation, it must have been Yunshu who taught me everything. I was merely her puppet." Du Pingting fainted. I only learned about these events at the Du residence later, from Xiao Cui and the others. By then, I was already seated within the palace. The Emperor sat enthroned upon the lofty dragon throne. With a raised hand, he signaled for attendants to present before me the waist badge, ceremonial dagger, and official robes of the Palace Guard Command. My safe escape this time owes much to Minister Yun. I knelt to express my gratitude for the Emperor's grace. "Your servant was merely fortunate," I replied. The snare rope prepared that day was intended only to trip wild deer and antelope, and the bear trap was meant solely to capture Xionggang. I never imagined they would serve another purpose. The Emperor spoke calmly, "Yunqing, there is no need for excessive modesty. Even if the equipment was a stroke of luck, the composure you displayed at that moment showed the bearing of a great general." Thus, His Majesty bestowed upon me the title of Commander of the Palace Guard. This position far surpassed the rank I held in my previous life. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, once the palace coup erupted, I could once again safely rescue His Majesty, achieve victory against overwhelming odds, and replicate the path of my former life. Yet, I never imagined that a month after my appointment as commander, Du Pingting would enter the palace. Du Pingting came to denounce me. She claimed to possess evidence of grave crimes committed by Yunshu. the commander of the palace guard. Thus, His Majesty summoned her personally. Now, she kneels before the throne, addressing the emperor. Your Majesty, though I am Du Yunshu's elder sister, I am first and foremost your subject. Therefore, I must set aside familial ties for the greater good and expose Du Yunshu's treasonous deceit. Du Yunshu is in truth a woman, yet she saved your Majesty's life disguised as a man and entered the palace guard as an official. This act defies the natural order. To prevent her from repeating her transgressions, this humble subject must inform your Majesty. Du Pingting wept, appearing pitiful and helpless. Seated upon the lofty dragon throne, His Majesty propped his chin, the pendants of his jade crown obscuring the emperor's expression, leaving his thoughts unreadable. After a long silence, the emperor spoke. All non-essential personnel may withdraw. The grand eunuch, ever observant, promptly led all palace attendants out. Only the emperor, Du Pingting, and I remained within the hall. The emperor rose and approached Du Pingting, lifting her chin. Her almond-shaped eyes brimmed with tears, her makeup rendering her face breathtakingly beautiful. The emperor chuckled softly. You've gone to great lengths to adorn yourself. Her intentions laid bare. Du Pingting flushed crimson. I watched coldly from the side, understanding perfectly well. Within the emperor's harem resided several widows of high-ranking officials. Thus, whispers circulated that His Majesty might have a particular fondness for married women. Sure enough, the emperor inquired of Du Pingting, "And where is your husband?" Du Pingting hastily replied, "This humble servant's husband was 7th-rank guard Wei Lu. Not long ago, he fell gravely ill and passed away suddenly." My mind was crystal clear. Du Pingting realized her long-standing efforts had been nothing but a farce, likely more disgusting than swallowing a fly. Wei Lu was poisoned by her. Her entry into the palace now was a gamble for the emperor's favor. Du Pingting had always been confident in her beauty. From childhood onward, any man who laid eyes on her true face was inevitably captivated. The emperor smiled. He said, "Indeed, you are beautiful, such a beauty. How do you wish me to deal with Yunqing?" Du Pingting, elated by the emperor's praise, hastily replied, "Though this humble maiden is uneducated, I know the ancestral rules forbidding women from holding court positions. If this offender is not severely punished, it will surely invite public censure. Therefore, this humble maiden believes the emperor should bestow white silk." The emperor roared with laughter. "Good. Very good. Grant her white silk." He clapped his hands, and the trusted palace maid waiting outside entered. She held white silk in her hands. The emperor said coldly, "Take her away." Du Pingting froze, for she realized the emperor was pointing at her. "Your Majesty, you must have made a mistake." The emperor smiled faintly. "There's no choice," he said. "Yunqing is a talent I've long sought." Du Pingting was stunned. She wailed, "But Your Majesty, she is a woman. Our ancestors decreed women cannot hold court office." The emperor stepped before Du Pingting. He murmured, "Our ancestors also decreed women cannot ascend the throne." Du Pingting continued her wailing, but gradually, as if grasping something, her eyes widened in terror. The emperor smiled. The hanging tassels of his crown veiled his face and concealed his secret. Yes. This was the final secret I uncovered during the palace coup in my previous life. The current ruler was not the late emperor's 5th son, but his 5th princess. That was why, in this life, I realized I could enter the court as an official without relying on any man. Du Pingting thought she held my weakness, unaware that I dared leave such a glaring flaw exposed precisely because I knew it could not bind me. Du Pingting was dragged away by palace maids. Having learned the empire's greatest secret, the emperor could not possibly spare her life. Her Majesty returned to the dragon throne. She remarked coolly, Do you find me ruthless? I bowed deeply. Not ruthless, Your Majesty. Merely the skill of an emperor. She smiled. Yun Qing, with your formidable martial arts. You also possess a silver tongue. You must have known long ago that I am a woman, right? I shook my head. No, Your Majesty. I only learned just now. Emperors are prone to suspicion. I didn't want Her Majesty to realize I was reborn, lest she grow wary of me. But the Empress interrupted me, speaking calmly. Enough pretense. I am pleased it was you who appeared in this life, not Wei Lu. I gasped, then trembled violently. This single sentence carried an overwhelming weight of meaning. Her Majesty was reborn too. Don't mention it. In my previous life, though I survived the palace coup orchestrated by Prince Ning, a eunuch loyal to him poisoned me with a slow-acting toxin. Thus, I died suddenly months later. Reborn. I wish to avoid the mistakes of my past life and restore the empire. Naturally, I must keep all the talents I unearthed in my previous life by my side. Do you know who the consort Shu, Consort Li, and Consort Lu truly are? These were the married women the emperor had taken a special interest in. Consort Shu is the wife of the current top scholar. Her husband once stunned the Imperial Academy with his governance strategies. But in truth, she was the real author behind them. Consort Li's husband is the Vice Minister of Rights. Yet in reality, she manages all the ministry's accounts. As for Consort Lu, she is the concubine of the so-called divine detective. But in truth, that detective's cases were solved entirely by Consort Lu. He himself is nothing but a pretty face. I see. These women are the truly talented ones. The emperor's so-called good wives are actually kept by his side to form a small court of their own. And you, I knew long ago that you were the one behind Wei Lu. His Majesty stepped before me. The assassination attempt in the Western Hills was staged by me. After all, that assassin was sent by Prince Ning. I needed to lull him into complacency. But I am pleased. In this lifetime, you have come before me of your own accord. Tears welled in his eyes. I knelt, Your Majesty's boundless grace. The emperor sighed, alas. Worldly prejudice, even I cannot defy it. As an imperial prince, taking a commoner's wife as a consort after ascending the throne would draw mere admonishments from ministers, no fundamental threat. But if I were a princess, no matter how brilliant my strategies, I could only marry a prince consort. I raised my head and said, worldly prejudice is indeed hard to change. But it is not impossible. Since our generation cannot alter it, I humbly request Your Majesty to begin with the next generation. The sovereign lifted her gaze, her eyes resting on the rivers and mountains beyond the window. After a long moment, she murmured, well said. In the 8th year of Qian Yuan, I was appointed commander of the palace guard, overseeing the imperial palace's security forces. In the 9th year of Qian Yuan, the sovereign exonerated my mother's maternal clan, the Yin family. In the 12th year of Qian Yuan, the Imperial Academy for Women was established. Both noble ladies and commoner girls gained the opportunity to study within its halls. Under my guidance, Xiaosui became a student in the first cohort of the Women's Official Academy. I accompanied her to her mother's grave. Holding the jade pendant in her hand, she wept. Mother, I've made something of myself. Did you see? That jade pendant was her mother's keepsake. She had pawned it to scrape together silver for me. Now, I had redeemed it and returned it to her. Xiaosui placed the jade pendant before her mother's grave. A breeze stirred, rustling the vibrant wildflowers. One generation had passed. The next generation was stepping toward new hopes. The end.